So we should be live now. Just going to wait until I can see it. There we go. Awesome. So welcome everybody to Love Speaks Love. I am Denise, your host. It's been a while since I've done an episode of Love Speaks Love. It's been a good few weeks. I've no idea when. So I did 125 episodes of season 1, and I've decided, since it's been a long break, to call this now season 2. And I am absolutely delighted that my guest today is Morgan Lee. Welcome, sweetheart.
Hi, Denise.
So Morgan has been in my awareness for a while. I'm really delighted that we're doing this today. I know this isn't necessarily your favourite thing to do lives, and we were going to record it. And it threw me off a little bit when you said, shall we go live? So anyway, here we are live. And I'm just really delighted. We've been spending quite a bit of time together recently because I'm in one of your New Earth Grid groups, which has been awesome. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, I'm sure, as we go on. But yeah, welcome.
Thank you. I think, no, it's not my most favourite thing to do, but I'm very comfortable with you, so that's good.
I think you're just getting more comfortable in this kind of, like, you know, scenario. I see that. I see you when you've been on with Todd as well. Like, I can see the progression. You might not be comfortable yet, but I would say that you're more comfortable. Or even if you're not, you're willing to, like, and I honour you for that. You're willing to put yourself out there, which is awesome. Okay, so we normally start Love Speaks Love with a little heart-to-heart connect. And the idea of this was to give us all an opportunity to connect with our hearts, because my feeling is that the more in our heart space we are, and the more people in the world are in their heart space, the better a place it will be. And also, I wasn't sure when I started doing these how nervous I would be, or if my guests might be any, nervous at all. So it's a way of just leaving that behind and just coming into our hearts, into that place of flow, and then speaking from our hearts. So instead of talking about it, let's do it. So I invite anybody watching, if you're in a position to do so, close your eyes if you want to, but just bring your awareness to your heart space in the center of your chest. And let us all breathe love into our hearts. Taking a few long and slow deep breaths. Breathing out anything of the day so far or the day ahead, anything that may be preventing you from being in this now moment. And expanding our heart awareness out now to the heart of Gaia. Connecting in with the heart of Gaia, with the New Earth templates that emanate out from the heart of Gaia. Connecting with the crystalline matrix of energy. And while we're in this position of feeling that heart-to-heart connect with Gaia, we can call into our bodies any energies that our body would benefit from. Any energies from the crystalline grid, or any nutrients, any electrolytes, anything that our body would benefit from right now. And feeling Gaia's love for all of us, feeling her gratitude and her recognition for all of us, for all that we are and all that we do. And feeling Gaia's energy moving into our bodies, lighting up every cell. And expanding that heart awareness out to the heart of the sun. To the heart of Source Creator. And as we connect with the sun and the great central sun, whatever name we have, just feeling those energies moving into our bodies, into our being, into our hearts. And just breathing deeply. And with our awareness in our heart space. Feeling centered and aligned. If our eyes are closed, just opening them whenever we're ready. And apologies for the siren that just decided to blast right outside the house.
It's funny.
That'll wake us up.
Siren, was it?
Yeah, from one extreme to the other. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us. I'm really excited. So I would love to know, now that I have you here, I don't know how much of your kind of awakening journey I know you've been doing kind of spiritual work, whatever we want to call it. I know you've done various courses, you've done counseling courses, you've come up with your own modalities. What kind of started this off for you? Was it something that was always with you from being a child that you kind of just expanded on, or was it a particular experience that kind of led to your awakening?
Okay. Both. I didn't know that I was weird and woo-woo. Like I was the one in the family that said who was dying, who was having a baby, who was going to get married, whose house was on fire and we went and saved before it, blew up. And I was the one that did all of that. But I was also very corporate. I was, wearing the country road suits and working at Bankers Trust. And I feel a bit funny because somebody else asked me this question today and I've actually answered it. This is my second live today, so I feel a bit funny repeating myself. What do you want me to do? I had a spontaneous, instantaneous awakening. I'll do a very short version. I had a horrendous coccyx for like 10 years. I'd spent thousands of dollars trying to fix it, never could. And one of the weird ladies at work, the really weird ones, said to me, I'm a Bowen therapist, come and see me. No, thanks. You're a bit too weird for me. After about 6 months, I'm like, what the hell, I'm going to do it. So I went within minutes of laying on the table and she put her hands on me to do whatever Bowen therapy is. I've got no clue. Merlin turned up. And it was as clear as, all in colour. He was talking. He did all of these processes on me. I hopped off the table. And then I spent the next, at least 2 months in a Buddha state. And it was like an instantaneous awakening. And then at the end of that time, it all went away. And then it was like, oh my goodness, I'm hungry. I want more of that. So it became 20 years of trying to find my way back there.
Wow. Wow, what a start. Like that's amazing. Merlin came into my world quite early on in my awakening as well. Yeah, after I'd learned Reiki, I started feeling the presence of Merlin, and I was a little bit my Reiki master said to me, Merlin's quite a hard taskmaster. Like he you know, you kind of have to agree to be doing this stuff, really, if you're working with Merlin. Not exactly that he doesn't suffer fools gladly, like I feel he's very patient, but you have to, commitment is the word that's coming to me. You have to have a certain level of commitment to work with Merlin. And it blows me away, just across so many different communities, lands, this energy of Merlin just seems to pop up everywhere, especially now.
Absolutely, yes. Agree, totally, yes. An incredible teacher too. You know, he really started me off. Then when I went back to, well, I didn't go back to sleep. I came out of that Buddha state and back into that state. He was there immediately, and he brought this older woman with all this wild, big, long, white, curly hair. And between the two of them, they helped me immediately, really put me to work, which wasn't
So
much fun.
who do you think the woman with the wild curly hair was?
She told me when she first, well, they introduced her as Soul Mother, and I was just like, oh my God, I wanted a mother my whole life. Wow, wow, wow. But then after about 10 years, I feel a bit embarrassed saying this, but it's the truth. He said, that's you. This is you. This is the older you. And I'm like, oh, all right, thank you. So yeah, it started off with both of them, and then yeah, expanded from there.
That's interesting, because that's what I thought when you said it, and I didn't want to like make an implication that you had wild hair and that you might have wilder hair when you're older.
Yeah. Okay.
But that was, yeah, that was my feeling. And isn't that interesting? Because I, at the start of this, you know, would connect with angels, with archangels, and it was like I couldn't at that time connect with my higher self, because I wouldn't have trusted my higher self because of my own kind of worthiness issues. I wouldn't have trusted myself so much. It was easier to kind of like trust what seemed to be external at the time.
Yes, I had the same thing. Like by having them, and I didn't even know about guides back then, because I hadn't even read anything, you know, at that. I'd read nothing. I knew nothing about all the spirituality. I just thought that what I was doing was normal, that everyone could do that. But yeah, it's I needed them first too, and then they started showing me how to talk directly to my own inner essence, my higher self, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, tell me a bit about that. How you do that? How you would, if you were like teaching someone how to connect with their higher self, how would you do it? Because I'm sure it's second nature to you now. But would there be like a technique that you'd use for that?
Yes and no. I mean, it can happen in 30 seconds. So they pretty much say, take a few breaths. Now invite the inner essence of you or your higher self to come before you. And that might look like a younger version, a current version, an older version. It might be a ball of white light. But when you can feel, sense, or hear that or see that, now you're connected. You can start communicating. So, you know, it can happen in 1 minute or less, really.
How do you see yours? Is she a ball of light?
No. No, I haven't reached that stage yet. I haven't gone up to a ball of light yet. No, it's pretty much just me. It's pretty much just me, yeah. Or different versions.
I do kind of see them higher, like, you know, higher in the room, kind of, you know, looking down. Is that your feeling as well, that there's kind of like, oh, you're up there a little bit? Or is it more like just face to face?
No, it's more like this. I think back in the early days, it used to be like that, and that was too hard for me. It was like I had this real thing of seeing myself up there, and then having my human self not feel worthy of that connection. So very quickly, in fact, when I work with people who think that they can't see, I'll often get them to bring up a picture of themselves, you know, as a child or a teenager, whatever. And as soon as they can visualize that picture, we start talking. They start talking directly to that, and from there, that then expands and becomes, you know, whatever they want to see, really.
Yeah,
ball
beautiful.
of light.
Yeah. And the Heiros Gamos stuff. So a lot of us have heard yourself talking about this, and your beloved Tom Medina as well talking about this. How did that come about for you? Was that like a spontaneous thing that happened?
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes, it was. Okay. So I had this client. I had a beautiful big home in Adelaide, 5 rooms. I had my own healing room, my own office, and I had this client contact me, this man in his late 30s. And he said to me, I'm addicted to sex. I'm having sex 15 to 20 times a day with women from 16 through to 96. It doesn't even matter what they look like, how old they are, or anything. They make a beeline towards me, and I just have to take them somewhere, and we do the jiggy. And I've got a wife and 3 little girls, and I don't want to get caught. I don't want to lose my job. It's getting ridiculous. You know, can I come to see you? I'm like, oh, this would be interesting. I haven't had sex for years. I'm married, but he's not interested in having sex with me. Anyway, so he came. Within a few minutes of him coming into the office, it happened instantaneously, accidentally, automatically. So, and I that was the very first one, so I didn't know how it worked. I felt my energy leave, not leave me, but like stretch out. He stretched out and they both merged. Now, and they stayed that way for 2 weeks. I had the time of my life. I was having like 15, 20 orgasms every day. I'd pull over if I was driving, and it was just spontaneous. And my hands were anywhere but where you would think. And it just went on and on and on. And we would have to talk like every second or third day, even if it was for half an hour, reconnect, and we'd shift that energy up. Merlin and Soul Mother came in and helped, explain, shift it up to the next chakra, the next chakra, the next chakra. Oh my God, I should have paid him. At the end of that 2 weeks, we felt the separation, the split happened. The orgasms for me, the spontaneous orgasms stopped, and I just went back to what I thought was normal. And he knew everything that I'd learned, in the previous 10 years. He knew how to do sessions. He knew all sorts of stuff. So in that merging, we actually shared data, we shared information. Now, he rang me and he said that he hadn't had sex at all in that whole 2-week period. And he rang me a month or so later, he said, I still haven't had sex. And I think 2 or 3 years later, he answered, it still worked. I've never ever cheated on my wife again. So that was my first accidental one. And then it didn't stop. But it was never much fun after that.
Sorry, what was that?
It wasn't as much fun after. It was still great, but it wasn't the same.
Okay, I've got 2 initial questions for that. So was that an online appointment, or was that?
No, that was he lived in Adelaide and came to my house for an appointment. And
do you feel it started at the base, so it was like a base chakra, a root chakra, very appropriate in this conversation, a base chakra to base chakra like connection to start with, or was it?
The first connections that you'll have with anyone, including that one, was sacral to sacral.
Right.
I don't know a lot of information about chakras and things like that, but Merlin and Soul Mother explained to me that the true first chakra is the sacral, and it comes up the body and then it goes down and it finishes at the base. Like the base is the foundation of it. So we actually shift everything up here first, and then the base gets reset.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's interesting. And I guess to me, like the umbilical, the joining to me is sacral. It's where we joined, to our mums in the womb as well. So it kind of makes sense that it would, on that level, on a physical level, that it would be sacral.
Yeah, and true. But also, that's where you're going to get the most attention from humans. If you accidentally merge with somebody and you've got the biggest sexual energy you've ever felt in your life blow up, it's going to get your attention. You're going to want to know more about it.
Yeah, true. Like if you'd have just merged, because I think we do merge. I felt that when I've done sessions. I hadn't known about Heiros Gamos, but I could feel my brainwaves slowing down with their brainwaves. I could feel when they were about to fall asleep. And sometimes that happens. I remember when I went on a coach trip with my mum and she started falling asleep. I knew she was falling asleep because I suddenly started feeling really tired and wanting to fall asleep. So I could feel that there was like a bit of a merging going on anyway.
Yes, and it does. That's exactly what happens. We're doing that like all day, every day anyway, but especially if you're in a session with somebody and you open up your field to merge, as they open up, that'll automatically happen. And it makes it easier, like to tune in, share the information. Yeah.
It kind of feels more limited though. It feels like what happened with you, because I don't know that in a normal situation like that, in terms of a session, the sharing of knowledge, I don't think that necessarily happens in a session. Like it feels like there's different kind of levels to that. And if what I do normally in a session is level 1, then you went straight to, like, I don't know, level 3 or something. It was like a deeper merging with someone.
I think that's the base for Heiros Gamos. Heiros Gamos is about, connection to universal intelligence and expanding anyone and everyone involved. Whereas, when we're just doing a one-on-one session with people, we'll open up. We do that. We're there. We're holding the space for them. They might be holding the space for us. We're actually there working together. So I don't know if it's levels like this. I think it's just like food, different flavors, different. It's the same thing. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah. Interesting. So do you still offer Heiros Gamos sessions?
What I do with Heiros Gamos sessions is I actually will take them in, connect somebody to their own higher self and activate that within themselves. Activate it if they've got that, and most of us do, that's sacred wisdom within our DNA that needs to be activated. Might connect someone to a morphic field because it's constantly growing. So more and more and more people are doing this now. So it's building. We might connect them to somebody that they would like to merge with, whether it's a deity, a deceased person, or a current partner, provided you can only do so much with that. It's not going to be the same experience if you're doing it with your partner, but you can certainly bring the higher self of the partner in and merge with them. So we do a few things in one of those sessions to activate all of, like, every possibility. And mostly with the guidance from the higher self, we say to the higher self directly, what else needs to happen here to bring this up to its highest potential? But no, I don't merge with other men anymore. One's enough to handle. Sorry, I got a naughty streak.
Okay, so you're also known for zero pointing, and that was a big journey for you to get to that point of it kind of becoming a modality. And I'm feeling that the stage is, you had the invocation. Did the invocation come in first and then that kind of stretched out a bit to become the zero pointing?
The Soul Mother and Merlin have been telling me for ages. The most powerful thing you can do for yourself as a human is to neutralize all of your own duality. And they're giving me hints. Like in the beginning, they had me putting two opposites inside like a live moving infinity symbol and letting that travel around until you felt that click in the middle of absolute neutralization. That was a long way to do it. You were sitting there imagining and thinking, what were the next two words I wanted to do? And the next two words, like, to neutralize. And then it sort of expanded from there. They explained that, there was another way to do it as well, which would be more thorough, by making lists and going through everything, you would miss less. And the first thing they gave me was the clearing tool. And then from there, they said, okay, do this, make this list, make that list, and do that. And when I started that, I was stuck in my house. I mean, to leave the house was unbearable for me. I was so petrified of people. I'd cleared all my wounds, but the programs were still left over. So this was going to clear the programs for me. So I think I spent about 5 or 6 months doing step 1, because I was only allowed to do one list every 5 days to understand, you know, how all that works. We shift energy today. It used to take up to 5 days to integrate that. Now it's closer to 2 or 3 days. Now I've forgotten what you asked. Oh, sorry. So it took, you know, 5 or 6 months it took me to do step 1. I left the house. I walked around to Flight Centre. I booked a trip to Rome by myself, and I travelled the whole of Italy and a lot of France by myself. You know, this was a woman who 6 months beforehand couldn't even leave the house to take her kids to school. And here I was having dinner in everyone's homes. People invite me into their homes every night for dinner, and I was hanging out with, you know, other travellers all day, every day. And I was like, wow, like what a change. I've not been able to leave my house for a decade, and here I am. And I didn't stop traveling after that. I was just constantly off.
Wow. You mentioned in there a clearing tool. I think you said that Merlin and your higher self gave you like or your older self gave you like a clearing tool. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, that took weeks. It took about 6 or 8 weeks to come through, and they would give me one word at a time, and like I had to understand and clear that word. I had to clear the word and fully understand it, and they had them in exact specific orders. And then when it was finished, it was I've had a lot of kinesiologists test it. They've tested it, muscle tested up in the high 800s. So it's a really high frequency clearing tool. Like if I wake up, you know, some mornings we wake up and we just feel like shit. We've got no clue what's going on. We don't know if we want to scream at someone or cry, or we don't know what it is. I'll just say this clearing tool out loud for these current feelings and emotions. And it's about 10 to 12 minutes for me. I'm no longer drowning in it. It's shrunk down to like this big, and I can go, oh, I see what this is. I know what this is. I know what to do with it. So yeah, it's basically just a set of words.
Yeah. So that's the same thing as the invocation.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to the octahedron stuff. How did that first drop in for you?
That just came from nowhere. So that's about 8 or 9 years ago. It just got delivered like a download. You need to set yourself up inside an octahedron. I'm like, what the hell is an octahedron? And they talked me through it like I do. So setting up the pyramids and everything. And then they set up the moving infinity symbols through my heart chakras. I think we did that the first time the other day. And also like activate a spiral from the center of my heart out to fill up the octahedron. It was mind-blowing. It was so powerful. It really threw me. So I started doing it with everyone I knew, and everyone was having like really big experiences from it. And then I met Todd, and like it was one of the first things I did to him. So I knew it was a powerful thing. And I would use it with clients over the years, but that was it. But late last year, actually mid last year, they started saying, okay, we want you to bring that in. We want you to bring everything in that you do together, including the Heiros Gamos, it won't be sexual though, and pull it into groups. So merge everyone as one in the group, but set them up in their octahedrons first, travel over to the New Earth grid, set them up in circles, like they're in their own octahedrons, and then have everyone merge as one. So then it becomes not just 2 of us anymore. I mean, Todd and I have had extraordinary experiences from being in dimension. Like that connection is incredible. But when you get a group of people and we're all doing it, it's a whole nother ball game again. So I sort of incorporate whatever I feel like doing in that. And at times we also, the group will build the experience. We're all having the same experience, and we'll share, oh, I just saw a diamond light body, and somebody else will say, yes, and my higher self said we should merge with them. So, you know, sometimes it's just me, or sometimes it's just silence, and sometimes it's a group building experience.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's interesting because this is what I mentioned at the beginning, that I've been doing with you in the UK Aussie group, it's interesting how different it can be from week to week. You know, it can be pretty much the same people, you know, maybe a couple different. And sometimes there's a lot spoken of what people see. And when people are sharing what they're seeing, it's not too kind of long-winded. It's because you don't want to take people out of their own experience, and you kind of know when it's something to share. But someone, as you say, might say something about seeing their diamond light body, or I remember one time you were describing something and I was seeing the same thing. So having someone, but you're not really quite sure what it is sometimes. So having someone say, I'm seeing this, it might be this, and then, you know, it can expand the experience. But there's also been times when we've all just been silent and kind of all having our own experience, but within this shared group experience. And it is really powerful.
Yeah, there's something about, I think it's about being over in the grid that we've all been building for many, many years. And that grid is made up of, you know, millions of octahedrons, millions of dodecahedrons, maybe even. So, you know, we've all been building that up with our love, with our dreams, with our desires, you know, with our wishes and all that sort of stuff. So going over there is very powerful, but allowing our energy to become one for that time, it's like doing energy work on steroids. Like anything that we do is explosive because it's utilizing the power of the group itself to do everything for every individual within the group. So it's a multidimensional experience too, because you're having your own experience, you're aware of the group's experience, you're aware of all the other beings that have come in, and you're aware of so many different levels of what we're playing with.
Yeah, and I find it really interesting, the octahedron stuff too. And I love anything about sacred geometry. Like it really, I find it so expansive to listen to people talking about sacred geometry. Or I read Drumbelow Melchizedek's Flower of Life books like years ago, and could really feel the expansion coming from that. So I've been working with Merkaba energy for quite a long time. And then at the back of the beach in Byron, and every day I go with my cup of tea and I do a light language activation in amongst the trees. And then I kept being like, my hands are just joining above my head. I kept being guided to draw this diamond around me. And I'd be like, I just, you know, go along with it. And I had no idea really what it was that I was doing. And then I think it was connecting with Amrita Melchizedek's work, and she brought in octahedron stuff, and hers was, the way she would say it would be to expand the octahedron of your heart, expand it outwards. And I find yours in a way much simpler and easier to visualize, because you've got one four-sided pyramid floating down from above and one coming up from the ground, and it just seems easier in some ways. And I feel that the octahedron is part of our geometry. I don't think it's necessarily new geometry, but it maybe wasn't online before.
Yeah, agreed. I agreed 100%. In fact, I won't say a name because I don't want to get her into trouble, but a dear friend over your way sent me her password to Gaia TV about 7 or 8 months ago and said, you've got to watch Initiations with Matthias Di Stefano.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, okay then. Well, I put it on, and oh my goodness, he just goes on and on and on about the power of octahedrons, about them being a bridge to the universal intelligence, how they used them to manifest things. They used them for everything. It's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that. It was really exciting to watch. So, and I think you've probably noticed now that it keeps expanding constantly, like the information, the abilities. Like we put our dreams in little octahedrons and place them into the New Earth grid, you know, and we're hearing people in the group saying, oh my God, the thing that I asked for 2 weeks ago is here. And it's constantly expanding, and a part of me sits here and God, you should go and watch that initiations again. I'm sure there was more in there that I missed, but I was just gobsmacked to see how much that they used them, he says, back in Atlantis.
Yeah, interesting. And I felt for a while that they're kind of, I see them as nodal points on the Earth grid. One of the biggest activations that I did in Byron was like a spontaneous thing that happened, and it was, what I saw was a crystal pyramid out in the sea, and what I was kind of doing was raising this crystal pyramid up. But as it rose, I realized that it wasn't just a crystal pyramid, a four-sided pyramid, it was an octahedron. And that was one of my first experiences of working with that, or consciously working with that grid at that time. And I tell this story sometimes because it was raining and I was getting wet. I was sitting on a trunk of a tree with an umbrella, but I was getting quite wet, and I was like, oh, can I go home yet? Are we finished? And I was like, if I need to carry on, just show me a sign. And two dolphins, as I said that, jumped out of the ocean, like vertically. That's one and only time that I've seen them like that, vertically. And I was like, okay. And the fact that it was raining, nobody walked in front of me the whole time that I was doing this activation. And it was deep out in the ocean. Nobody walked in front of me. It's like I had clear energy field between me and the octahedron that I was working with. Yeah, interesting. And I see when I do work in the garden with the plants, for a good while now, I've kind of energetically put an octahedron around. And now I see like a line of octahedrons going down from that to connect with the octahedron of Gaia's heart.
Yeah. I'm really excited because our group, our little UK group on Wednesday mornings, has just let their intentions know, like somebody else is going to run it. And I know that as soon as that somebody else runs it, then everyone else is going to have the confidence to run it too. And then we're really going to be in oneness. Like when everyone in the groups understands that any of us can do this. And it's almost like they'll all do it, and then they'll go off and start their circles as well. And these circles are circles of oneness. It's actually bringing people to a space where we are in true divine collaboration, and what we want to manifest or create or neutralize or whatever. And we do lots of different things in there. We might neutralize shadow or bring in activations. It doesn't matter what we're doing, but it's powered up from us. So I'm actually really excited because that's going to be happening soon, and I know as soon as one does it, then the others will start putting their hands up, and it'll be like, beautiful. This is what it's all meant to look like.
Yeah. And it's not, you've been kind of leading the groups, but it's not about there being a leader of the group. It is us all being, because it is such a shared experience. You're speaking it at the beginning, and obviously when people first come in, I think there's more you're doing with the energy than people might realize in the beginning. But then people just do it themselves, and they might not even know that they're doing it.
Yeah, until they realize that they're doing it.
Yeah.
Until they realize that they're actually doing it. And like there's a couple of groups that have been running longer than this group, but this group came in, this Wednesday night group came in your Wednesday morning, like already, like a really high frequency. So I don't want to offend anyone, but it's almost like they're the highest group. I actually record this group only every week because it's like that's what we're doing for the rest of the week. For everyone else, it's the most advanced group. I mean, all the groups are incredible and they're all advanced, but this one was like, wow, oh my goodness, who have we got here?
Yeah, it's beautiful. There's another series. It's not specifically, there's not so much on the octahedron, but there's another Gaia series that I've been tapping into this week called Codex. I don't know if you've seen that Code X. It's Robert Grant, and he was executive producer on Eric Rankin's second video, so he's connected with Eric as well.
Yeah.
And aside from the geometry that I find absolutely fascinating, he tells this tale of meeting with the Dalai Lama. And when the High Lama dies and is cremated, they look through the ashes, and depending on the frequency, the heart space of the Lama, they find a crystal in the ashes. I know, there's like this amber, I'm getting quite teary speaking about it. It's like this amber crystal. And the Dalai Lama, they save them all, and the Dalai Lama has all of those crystals. And even just through looking at these crystals, you get like a download, or, you know, you connect with the energy of it. It does something to the energy of the people. And I just find it fascinating, because this is something that we've talked about, you know, the crystal energy of the heart. This is something that we've talked about for a while, but this is kind of like, and I think I was trying to remember the name, it's like ring soul crystals, or ring soul stones, or ringsa. I can't quite remember the name, but it's a bit of a thing. And what Robert Grant talks about, he breaks down, he decrypts, he works out the puzzle of a lot of Leonardo da Vinci's like images, like the Vitruvian Man and some of the other ones. And there's one of this woman, and she has sewn into the bodice of her garment one of these crystals that looks just like the same crystals. It's really interesting. It's quite mind-blowing.
And especially considering what we've done this week. We've actually created our own diamond crystal heart grid. What I don't know what labels are or anything, but I mean, we created our own diamonds or crystals within our own, you know, our own beings. Diamond heart crystal activation, they called it. I don't even know what that is, but so they actually have a crystal that forms in their heart.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's the only bit of the left one in the funeral ashes. Nothing else, just that.
That's amazing. I'd have to have a look at that. I'm fascinated by that too.
You know, you just buzzed me there when you said diamond heart crystal. I haven't got a website. And, you know, the diamond has been very present for me, the heart. If I were to think of a name, but also incorporate my name into it, my initials are DHC. And what I came up with as a possibility for a website was Diamond Heart Crystal. And you're the only other person, because normally I'd say a diamond crystal heart. I wouldn't necessarily put it in that order. So you just buzzed me when you said that. That was really, really funny.
Well, they said to me, this is a diamond heart crystal grid activation. Now, I don't actually know what that means. And I guess maybe I do, because we're given specific directions in order to make it happen. But yeah, diamond heart crystal. Very cool.
Fascinating. Okay, so one of the other things I would like to speak to you about is the work that you've done, the energy that you've put into the templates relating to sacred sexuality and sacred union. And this has obviously been a key, this has been a big part of your journey, your lifelong journey, to work with, to hold these codes and bring them into a purity, like that. I'm not quite sure of the word, but more of an alignment, and to reverse any polarity that there's been, to bring it into a neutral space. I'd love you to share whatever you want to share about this, and and about the sacred sexuality codes that I don't know if we all have them. I think so.
Yes, we do. Every single one of us has them. Yeah. And like everything else, it's just been distorted, Denise. Sorry, I can see you haven't finished. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go on.
Yes, we absolutely, it's in our DNA. We are coded for this sacred sexuality, which is tenderness and passion and love. You know, it's meant to be a heart to, the connection actually goes, you know, from his heart or her heart. No, it goes, God, I've seen pictures of it, and I've seen Todd and I do it too. It's actually meant to be a flow that goes from heart to heart down to sexual organs. You know, it does this, but it got interrupted, like everything else got interrupted with all the distortions that we're taught. My son won't watch this. I'm going to say this. My son rang me 2 years ago. So he's 20, rang me 2 years ago. He's had his first girlfriend. He goes, Mum, you know, that 3-hour sex education thing you gave me, I'm not experiencing any of that. My girlfriend wants me to choke her. Why is she wanting that? And I said, don't do it. Don't do it for anyone. But why is she wanting it, Mum? I said, she's either learned it from some other guy or she's been watching porn. And she's got a belief, she's developed a program in her head or picked it up from somebody else, or, you know, maybe it came through parents that believed that sex included trauma or pain or hurt and all those sorts of things as well. But don't do it. Don't do it. Show her something else. And then the next girlfriend said, my God, I think you're wrong. Women love being choked. I'm like, they do not love being choked at all. They just believe they love being choked. And so he's finally got a third girlfriend now. I mean, he had a year or two in between, but who he's going, oh my goodness, we don't have to do any of that. And it's such a different experience. When we arrived here, we came in with these sexual programs, and especially if we've had sexual trauma, we've got even more. But we've picked it up from our parents. No, we weren't watching our parents do the jiggy, but just through their DNA. And they picked it up from their parents' DNA. And then they picked it up, you know, in the DNA through having sex with, you know, other partners and everything as well. So that's our sexual programming. Now, until we sit down, find it, find out what it is and neutralize it all, it's still active. You think about when someone asks you out on a date. Denise goes running around. What am I going to wear? What am I going to wear? I found what I'm going to wear. She pulls the shaver out, sorts her bikini line out and her underarms and her legs and everything. Then she starts thinking about, what am I going to say if he wants to pay for dinner? If he pays for dinner, it probably means I have to have sex with him. Like all this sort of stuff. Like we start, like all these programs are telling it. What happens if he kisses me? You know, is it okay to kiss back? Do I pay for dinner? If he goes down on me now, I'm going to have to do it on him as well. Like all this stuff is going a million miles an hour and creating a complete and utter heart-to-heart disconnect. So we have to undo those sexual programs. There's some really powerful ways to do it. My favourite way to do it, and I'll say to people, and we've had, Todd and I work with couples and we'll say to them, stop having sex. Commit to some celibacy and see what happens. And if you are going to come together, do one thing at a time. Like let your husband, you know, do whatever he wants to one breast for an hour or half an hour, whatever. You're not allowed to kiss, you're not allowed to touch it, you're not allowed to do anything. Just do that. And so that starts opening up portals, and it starts teaching people that the clitoris actually has nerves that come right up to the nipples. And so, you know, if a man did nothing but on her nipples, it actually activates the whole body. But I remember the first time we were told, Todd and I were told to do this, and we were told he's allowed to have 30 minutes on your right breast. We hadn't even seen each other naked at this point. I was like, all right, here you go. But he spent half an hour on my breast. He made love to my breast. Now, the most incredible thing happened for him. He just took off straight afterwards. We're staying with this lady, so I've gone out to say this. Oh, my God, did you know that, you know, just a one breast can do all this stuff? We lost Todd. We couldn't find him anywhere. He came up the stairs about 3 hours later and he's in tears. He's absolutely broken. He said, I've had 3 cold showers. Oh, how do you make this stop? How do you make this stop? What had happened for him, he'd activated his own etheric womb, and he was having ridiculous multiple female orgasms for hours. And he was beside himself because as much as he liked the first few, he didn't know how to make it all stop. So, yeah, my advice is, well, that's one way. Stop having sex. Let a natural reset occur. And if you're going to be intimate with somebody, be intimate that in a way that doesn't look anything like what we used to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right, it does, the distortion of this runs so deep. It's like we've been doing it, and it's all part of the inverted matrix. It's like everything is upside down and it's all wrong way round. And we need to, it's like we need to start again from scratch, especially in regard.
Yeah, so by becoming celibate, we give our bodies the time for that, especially if we're not masturbating as well. I mean, when I say go celibate, I'm saying don't even masturbate. Just allow the body's cellular memory to go through its own organic reset.
It's fascinating, and hearing you and Todd talk about this of kind of, it gives a glimpse of where we can go with this. And it is like we're just at the beginning of finding all this stuff out, finding out the new knowledge, and it's really not going to look like anything that's gone before.
It doesn't, Denise. Like just before we left, I think for the last few weeks before I left, like we were getting used to our light bodies, and it had happened before, but like we had like every night for that whole time. Our light bodies came up, and my light body's there, and I can see me as a man, like hovering just above me. And I looked over to Todd, and his light body had come up as a woman. And we were laying there, and these 2 light bodies made absolutely passionate, exquisite, heart-connected love. We're laying there just holding hands, and our bodies experienced every single thing that they did. And so we put up with it. It sounds awful. We experienced as long as we could, but it was such a high frequency that it made us sick. Like I think after about a week, we worked out we've got to keep a bucket in here. this is like the frequency is so high. It was such a big thing for the human body to be able to align with and tolerate so much energy. And then a couple of nights later, my man came up again, and a man came up and Todd's man came up. And the 2 masculine energies made passionate, exquisite, heart-to-heart connected love together. And I don't know, I can't explain how, but it was phenomenal, absolutely incredible, you know, for my female body to feel the passion, that really powerful sexual energy that happens between 2 men. And then a few nights later, the 2 women came up and they made love. And then, you know, my female and then Todd. So our light body's doing all of that. Like it could come in handy. I mean, I know we're not that, well, we're 55 and 60. We're still capable of doing those things, but it's like, oh, no, let's let them do it tonight. We still have the whole experience. We're having all the orgasms that they are. We're not breaking a sweat. And it goes on for hours. It can go on for hours unless you get sick, and then you're sort of like, oh, we'll wait 5 minutes and try again. But, you know, and then when you do come together and you actually are making love, all that is activated. So it's all happening at once. So I look back and I think, oh, my God, who would want you to choke you, and who wants to do all that old stuff that we used to do? You know, who's going to pay for dinner and all that sort of stuff when this is available?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I can't imagine what that must, on one level I can, but not really, because I've never experienced it. But like for Todd to experience what it feels like to have a female orgasm, and for you to experience what it feels like to have a male orgasm.
Yeah, I know exactly what a male orgasm feels like, and it is phenomenal. I mean, it's nothing on what we can do, but it is phenomenal. But when you're feeling both of them at once, that's a whole different ball game again.
Yeah, wow.
And we've been bonking the wrong way too. It's been wham bam, you know, and all this sort of stuff. We're not meant to be doing that either. Like a man can just enter a woman and stop and do absolutely nothing. And if he waits, and if he's not forcing his power on her and holds back, her power will ignite up, and her yoni, Todd said it feels like an octopus. Her yoni will do everything that is needed. Everything. You know, I think we've spent, you know, decades masturbating on each other and missed what is truly possible. This heart-to-heart connection is just incredible.
And I think in the old, like, what would you call them, like the priestess schools, I think this was the knowledge that at least some of it was the knowledge that the ancient priestesses had. So say the Magdalene line of kind of priestess energy. And young women went into that at an early age. And I think they were taught by the other women about their bodies and about how to work with their bodies, and perhaps more importantly, how to work with the energy, because it's an energy experience. And for me, since I, you know, first became aware of energy, and when I was first attuned to Reiki, then sex became different. It's an energy thing. It's completely, it's very different from what you think it is. And there are certain points on the body, like whether they are the pressure points or whatever, that just touching those points on the body doesn't. Yeah,
you can create a full body incredible orgasm just by the intention. Todd can touch me on the shoulder and send so much love into me. I'm like, go away. But then he runs off to the bathroom and he's hiding in the bathroom, and I know why he did it. I'm joking, not really, but we can do that. We absolutely can do that for each other. And to me, this is truly what Heiros Gamos is. I mean, I know we have our own Heiros Gamos, which is the merging of the masculine and feminine within. But to me, Heiros Gamos is it's almost like Tantra backwards. You know, when you go, I have never done Tantra, I've never read a Tantra book, but I understand you do these practices like sit naked in front of each other or massage this bit or whatever, and that should ignite the Heiros Gamos part, which is the merging, the connection to universal intelligence. Heiros Gamos is connecting to universal intelligence first, becoming one with each other and one with the whole universe. From there, we started having all these beings come in to teach us about sex, and then bringing it down into the physical. And so then your physical intimacy has all the energy of that dimensional and that energy stuff in there, as well as whatever is needed for the physical.
Yeah, amazing. And do you think the fact that you're in Australia and Todd is in the US now, do you think what you're talking about now and about the light bodies connecting and merging, that's been an important factor in you two being in separate places, that it's kind of strengthened?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been practicing this from the first day we met. As soon as I connected with him, I went straight into it, showed it to him, and then we practiced it every single day. We didn't meet, I think, for about 18 months. And then when we did meet, and I said to him, you'll be keeping your shorts on. He I don't think so, but he realised I was serious. But we had all these practices. So now we will regularly say, let's connect tonight. So we do the same thing. Now, it's not always sexual. It's connecting and doing the Heiros Gamos part, becoming one, to connect up with dimension, to pick up any activations that are available or understandings, or this isn't working, whatever we need. And then there are other times it's just like, oh, he's going to send his light body over to me, or, yeah, no, that's really all that happens. He keeps coming here. And you can have that really deep, you know, experience of the light bodies merging as well. I mean, there's just so many incredible possibilities. You know, say couples arguing, they would be far better to sit there opposite each other and just stare into each other's eyes until you feel that merging happen. And as soon as the merging happens, the two polarities that created that chaos in the first place break down and settle down. Like it neutralizes it. There's just so many fantastic possibilities, and absolutely every single human being on the planet has this within their DNA. We have these abilities. We find a lot of couples we talk to, the men will say, oh, I'll give it 4 weeks, or I'll give it 6 weeks. And you go, oh. So there you go. You know, you might get to 6 weeks and go, oh my God, look at all this other stuff we're doing and learning. Let's keep going. But yeah.
And it seems that your experiences, even when you're not, like when you're over there and he's over there, that a lot of the experiences you're having are shared. You know, you might not say, let's connect tonight, but it might just happen spontaneously. It seems that, and like when you were both seeing the light bodies, you were both seeing the same thing. Does it ever happen that you're not really, that you might have an experience and then it's nothing at all related to the experience Todd's has, or does it tend to overlap?
For me, like Todd connects in with me a lot more than I do him. Like he actually sets the intention before he goes to sleep. I'm going to go and do, and I often may not have awareness of that at all. My preference is to do everything consciously. I'd prefer to say to him, no, wake me up. If you really want to do that, wake me up and let's actually connect in full consciousness. Yeah. But he does it a lot. I don't tend to. Like I prefer to go off and learn this and this and this and this. But yeah, he sends himself over here often. Yeah. And
I feel that is like the building blocks, putting into the template. It's like creating a template for bilocation, for, you know, being in more than one place at once.
Yeah, maybe.
And it feels like, because I think we do that sometimes anyway, and, you know, remote viewers, it's kind of like part of your consciousness goes somewhere, but there's a bridge, there's space between part of your conscious going somewhere and a lot more of your conscious, so that someone can see you in that, like a lot more of your holographic.
Yeah, there was a couple of years ago, he was doing a live with this lady, Laura Hazel, I think her name was. It works with the dolphins. And I was sound asleep. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, middle of the day in USA, and I got woken up with his hands on me. And I'm like, what the hell's that? And it was like his light body was in there. It was doing all this work on me. And so I've quickly, you know, gone to ring him. He said, I'm on a live. So I turned it on, and this lady was doing an activation on him. And somehow his light body had come over to Australia to do it on me at the same time. That was actually really quite bizarre. That was really bizarre, because I actually got woken up in the middle of the night as she's doing an activation on him, and he's obviously at some level decided, I want Morgan to have that as well. Wow. That was a definite bilocation experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to share about how you've got a few of these new grid groups? So you've got a couple of UK Aussie ones and Aussie US, is that right?
Well, it could be Aussie US, but all the Aussies keep choosing to join the UK ones. So the USA ones seem to be just USA, and then the UK ones is where the Aussies come in. I think it's 7 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock at night for us. It's a good time,
yeah,
like to do something like that. Whereas the USA ones for us are 11 o'clock in the morning.
if that's, you know, nudging people hearing you speak about that, are there still places available for that? How would somebody?
Yeah, there's a few. There's not a whole heap. I don't want the groups too big. There's a few, probably. I think the two UK ones could accept another 2 or 3 people, and one of the USA one's very full, and the other is probably got some spaces, 4 or 5 spaces. But I don't think it's going to be long before, especially this group. Some I won't name names, but some of them, and I'll be saying, you know, go and join their group, because they know what they're doing. They know how to get you into the New Earth grid. They know what they're doing. So yeah, I don't think it'll be long before there's a whole bunch of us, you know, opening up these groups and this space of showing people the power of that divine collaboration, working, playing in oneness.
Yeah, it is really beautiful. And you kind of have a bit of a feeling of the other groups too. And because you'll be holding the energy of all the groups that you're doing, you're embodying and holding that energy of all of them.
Well, maybe, but more importantly, what I did earlier on was make sure that we brought in the essences of people from the other groups. So, you know, I've stopped it now. Once those things are set up, they're just there. So at a oneness level, in dimension, they are all absolutely connected. And then there's the 2 new ones that are just starting this week, gone, that are in the beginning are going to be fun, like what we do, but then we're going to shift over into sexual trauma and, you know, clearing the programs within the day with ease and grace. I don't believe in suffering, but we're actually going to utilize the power of the group to lift out programs of abuse, to clear cellular memory, to rewrite timelines. And you've got whoever's in there, everyone's doing for themselves, but it's happening for the whole group at the same time. And the power of the group is making it work, you know, a millionfold, like that on steroids. So there's those as well. But yeah, I think we're going to start seeing some others popping up soon. I really do.
Yeah, it's exciting. It is.
It's very exciting and it's very powerful. I'm going to share, I won't say her name, but about 6 months ago, we had a group of us there, and one of the ladies had a lump, like a cyst in her right breast and her right ovary, and didn't want to go down the normal path of medical, whatever they were going to do. So she was talking about, like, is it possible to do something like that in the group? So we said, okay, we'll find out. So we went over to the new grid. We asked when we got there, are there healing chambers here? So these beings came and grabbed her, and we all followed. So we're following her, and she was taking into these healing chambers, and we were allowed in there to observe. They placed her in the ground, almost like those old Roman baths, and it was filled with this turquoise teal sort of not like water, more viscous than water, but thick, sort of, not quite like jelly either. They placed her in that. We could all see everything she was experiencing, and that was one of the sessions where we were sharing what we were seeing. 9 light beings got into that body of water liquid with her, and they directed all this light at both of those areas. We're all going, oh my God, they're doing this to you. She said, I know, I can feel it. Like, we're all had the same experience. She knew it by the end of the session that it was fixed, it was done. She rang the next day, say it's gone, there's no pain. And I think that's about 7 or 8 months ago now, and still to this day, there's nothing there. So, and for me, I went, oh God, I should have said, can we all go in? But for later on that night, as I was dropping off to sleep, I relived the whole thing, only this time I went into that body of water. So.
Wow, that's really interesting, and really interesting that it was a body of water as well. That interesting.
Sort of, it wasn't water like we know water. It was
kind of like
sort of
plasma light kind of thing. So
No, it was definitely liquid. It was a teal coloured liquid, but it was it was a much thicker consistency. It wasn't quite like jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a much thicker. Like, do you know what? Do you have custard in?
Yeah.
Like custard, like thicker, like
Yeah.
thicker than water, and it was teal. But I mean, it was still see-through. We could still see her. We could see the other beings in there sending all that light into those areas. And yes, still here, 7 or 8 months later, nothing. She was just, and she'd been struggling with that for a couple of years. So, you know, anything we seem to do in there, it's our power. It's all of us temporarily connected as one, playing in oneness, and anything that we're saying that we want or we want to do is like energy work on steroids. Right.
Yeah, amazing. And there's something really potent about being in the New Earth grids together too.
Well,
you know,
we've been building these grids forever. We've been building these grids for so long. I've been watching them, you know, get a bit more and a bit more. But they're like, you know, thousands or millions of dodecahedrons, which is, I don't know how many octahedrons all joined. That's the grid. So when we go in there, we're going into the energy that, you know, most of the, I don't know how many people on the planet, the awakened people are all aware we're building, you know, the new things that we want. I've never been shown that, you know, the Earth's going to split, we're going to a new Earth, but this grid is the foundation of the new things that we want to build on this planet. So what better place to go and work in than there? We leave our dreams there. We do all sorts of things in that space.
And it's fun.
And it's fun. It's absolutely fun. You can come in feeling like a piece of shit and I don't know if I should be here. I feel really bad. I don't want to affect the group. You can't affect the group. We're working up here. There isn't any, you know, there is no fear up there. But yeah, they might say, I feel 1 out of 10 tonight. I don't think I should have come. And by the end of it, they're lit up. We're smiling. We're all giggling and laughing. It's been absolutely gorgeous.
As soon as you mentioned you were doing these groups, I was just like, it was an instant, yep, totally knew that I wanted to be there.
Well, it's Heiros Gamos. It's merging people together. It's no longer just 2. You've actually got, you know, 10 or 12 there. And so there's the power of all of us merging as one, which is very powerful. And
balancing, you know, as you speak of with Todd and the throat chakra, like you were a bit too quiet. He maybe was on the other end of the scale with that, and that merging together brings balance. So you're picking up all the good bits, for want of a better word, and kind of
neutralizing the not so great bits. But we did that in a group in the last couple of weeks. All of us sent our chakras, our throat chakras, into the center. So all of our throat chakras merged as one. You would have had all of that balancing, and we all felt that power in our throat chakras, and we all, like over the in the following days, felt the difference in our voices. So good stuff.
I feel for myself in terms of the voice, and this was spoken about with something I watched the other day, that the more inner work you do, the more resonance your voice has. It's like something happens to the voice box, and I think we've known this for a while because they can do analysis of your body through your voice, because there's, depending where your blockages are in your body or where it's not flowing as well, it comes through in your voice. So the more flow you have in the body, the more resonance your voice has.
Absolutely. And we're living that. We're actually consciously anchoring and embodying and living and projecting that now. Like everything that we do in these circles. Like the other night I forgot to do it. I thought, I wonder what will happen if we all put our base chakras in there. That could be a bit scary, but we can try it at some point. But you know, anything that we put into the center, all of our energy comes in and brings that to its highest potential. But you know, we're surrounded in all these other beings and everything as well. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I can feel like the excitement in us talking about it, like, you know, it's really exciting.
Yeah. Todd will get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because he loves this group, your group, the best, absolutely loves that group. He loves the other UK. He'll get up in the middle of the night just to come, because every group has its own essence and its own unique essence too. And every new person that comes adds, you know, they're bringing in their skills and gifts and knowledge and wisdom and everything as well. Every new person that comes in expands all of us.
And it's different every week.
And it's very different every week. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much, Morgan.
Thank you, Denise.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you guest on Love Speaks Love. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, good luck for, you won't need it, but good luck for season 2 of Love Speaks.
Love Speaks Love.
Love Speaks Love. Yeah, good.
And
all right.
Thank you to everybody who's been with us as well. We
Yeah,
will see you soon.